Alright, hey, welcome back, and it's Mr. Canada. Today we're looking at drawing bearings. So that's given a bearing, can we accurately measure the protractor and draw it? Okay, so where this can come in handy is actually being able to map out our scale diagrams properly, but also being able to draw out bearings will help us in our solutions. Okay, so first off, we're going to rewrite the bearing as something to something, right? So I told you swap around them, so we're going to say that we have A and we are going to B, right? This will just help us draw our next part. So we want to label our north line now, okay? So that just means I'm going to grab you do not have to do a dotted line, you can just make a north line. I like doing it as such, and I'm just going to have a little arrow on the top and label with an N for north. Now, I have to grab up my handy dandy protractor, and we're going to put it so our 0, right, our 0 is up on the north. So keep in mind we're going clockwise, that's why it's facing this way. So yours will follow suit. I'm picking the very end as my crosshair point. Okay. So you might have already made your crosshair. I'm simply choosing the end of my line as that point, and just going to be very accurate when I'm drawing it. So here, I'm looking for 80 degrees. So that means I'm looking for, on the outside, this point right here. Okay? So, I can remove my protractor and simply connect my lines. Last thing you want to do is draw your arc, label that, right? And make sure you have your A and B, right? So, let's do another one. Let's do the bearing of D from C. So that means we're going C to D, right? So, first thing we want to do, draw a north line. Okay. So every time you're going to have this north line, make sure you always draw it with a ruler. So here it's 195 degrees. Well, we know that it's going to end up somewhere down here, right? Somewhere like that. So we know that our protractor only goes up to 180, so we're going to have to do a little bit of work. So what's the difference between 195 and 180 will be the angle that we're drawing. So 195 minus 180, and we can find that's 15. So keep in mind when you do this, all you have to do is rotate your protractor, right? And then we're still using that bottom little tip lining up. And then we want to just find where 15 degrees is and mark that. I'm going to shrink my protractor a little bit. Or actually, I'll just keep it nice and big, but I'll have to go into the next question for a second. Which is fine. It's always better to be accurate. And just do a little erasing after if need be. So that is there. So I'm just going to connect my lines. And I'm actually just going to go over top of that with a normal line. You obviously just have an eraser. This is the most accurate way I can do it. So, there we are. So we have our angle, which is this. So we can say A and B. And we can denote this 195. Right. So, keep in mind, we could take away that north line, and this would still be accurate. So I could take away all this, right? Move that. And if I simply had this still labeled A, right? That could be A to B, and that would show my 195. So somebody could check that. They would know to draw a north line, and they would get the same result as us. Okay? So sometimes you might not, when you go to work with some bearing question they might not give you it looking the exact same. They'll get you to start it and make sure that you actually read the questions and don't try and think that you can skip ahead. Because if you notice what I did is I forgot that we're working with C and D and I used A and B. So sometimes a quick look back over what the question's asking can tell that, well, I've labeled it wrong. Okay, last one. We have this 320. Well, we know that we're going to have to require some maths. I'm going to pick 360 and just take away that 320 because it's almost at 360. So I know I'm going to have to measure back 40 degrees from my north line. So that's why we practice doing all these little tricks so you'd kind of get accustomed to where is it actually going to land. So here I'm drawing my north line. I'm labeling this E. And now I'm grabbing my protractor, placing it down. And then we're looking for 40 degrees, and that's on the inner scale this time. So here we can connect our lines, right? So connect our lines, and that we'll be able to find our other side. Sorry, just changing this. So I'm just going to call this over here my F. So there we go. So here are 6 questions for you to try. Whenever you're ready, press play and the answers will be up there for you. Right, so let's start going through them. So first one, notice my outside is 0. So 60. I'm just going to go through marking my points first, I think. Second one is 95, so line up. Find your 95 on the outside scale, right? Make your little tick. Then keep moving along. And 133. 133 using the outside. That's right here. Okay, so at this point I'm just going to go back and I'm going to finish off the top ones. So just by drawing my line. Right. So drawing your line from that crosshair point and over. So I don't really care that I'm kind of gone over into my other sections. And make sure you have a nice sharp pencil so you don't have problems like I'm sort of having with all this stuff. Right. So the sharper your pencil, the more accurate these are going to look. More accurate results will be, especially if we start carrying through answers like you will when we start doing scales. Okay. So, yeah. So those ones should look like. Lastly, for those ones, don't forget to label. So, B from A, so that means our starting is A, ending is B. Then we're doing C to D. Then F from E. So E is your starting, F is your ending, right? So switch them around as E to F. C to D. Then you can see A to B. That helps you see what we're doing. Let's go down. This time let's look at that G to H. That tells me that this point is G. Then I to J tells me that my starting point is I. And lastly, L from K. So K to L. So my starting point is K. Now, it's 215. Well, I know that's over 180. So how do I find out what I have to do? 215 minus 180. And I have to find a 35-degree angle. Similarly with the next one, exact same process, right? So we can do 258 minus 180, or there's no reason we also couldn't choose to do it, say up to 270, But that it also involves us, we'll have to draw other angles. So we might as well just stick with taking away from our 180. So 258 minus 180. It really is all preference. As long as you're drawing an accurate angle, you can kind of do it for your own means. So here we have, sorry, 78, if I'm correct, right? So 78 degrees, and lastly 345. So that means off of a full circle, that is 15 degrees from north. And that's from 180. So if that helps you, write those in so when you actually do it that you remember. So it's 35 from 180, right, degrees. So let's move down a little bit so we can see better. I'm going to make my protractor bigger again. And for the first two, I've said that I'm going to have to do a little bit of math before, so I'm just doing 35 degrees for this one. Right, so 35 degrees, make a little tick. Moving the protractor over, we're 78 degrees from here to this time. So 78 on our outside is right here. On the top of, sorry, just going to try and find where my arc's going to go to. There, top of that line. So I'm just going to put to there, right? So I just give myself little hints on the page if I need. And then this one, so here we're 15 degrees from north, but we're the opposite way. So, right, so that means we're using the inside, and we're going up to there. So get ready your protractor, get your line, sharpen your pencil, and then we're just connecting our lines. We will label them afterwards, so don't forget that. That way we know, we're telling everybody, hey, we know exactly what we're talking about, as always. So here we have the other variable is h. This one should be j, and this one should be l.